Tengu Forest is a 50 by 50 meter section of forest located in Kanazawa City, Ishikawa Prefecture. Surrounded almost completely by rice fields, it gets its name from a local legend that tells of a Tengu who descended upon the area and, in a single night, built both the forest and shrine within it. That shrine is Yasuka Shrine, and it's dedicated to Susanoo, Sukuna Bikona, and Mitsuhanome. It was reportedly built in 736, although it was destroyed in an insurrection and then rebuilt thereafter. Perhaps fittingly for a ghost spot, a river by the name of Chino River, Blood River, also runs through it, although it's unfortunately not made of actual blood. Yasuka Shrine is no longer the only shrine inside the forest either, and it's now joined by Kifune Shrine as well. These two shrines make up the majority of the tiny forest. So, how did such a holy place come to be regarded as a ghost spot? People who visit the forest regularly report that it's a strange, unnerving space. Footsteps can reportedly be heard roaming the forest, although they don't appear to belong to anyone. Tengu are known for wearing geta, a type of Japanese sandal that makes a loud clacking noise, so it's possible that people imagine they're hearing the famed Tengu himself, hiding amongst the trees. Others report the sound of laughter in the forest, usually that of a woman, while a man can be heard groaning in pain somewhere deep inside. Who either of these may be, nobody knows. Perhaps they were killed in the insurrection that destroyed the shrine the first time around, or perhaps they're wandering ghosts who found their way into the forest and then got stuck. People claim that numerous spirits float around the area surrounding the forest, so perhaps some of them wandered in and were unable to find their way out again. Perhaps the most common supernatural phenomenon that people experience whilst walking through the forest is a feeling of heavy shoulders, like someone has suddenly jumped down from the trees and is now resting their full weight upon them. The Tengu, perhaps. It's not unusual for spirits to weigh a person down by sitting on their shoulders, so it's impossible to tell what it might be. But for some reason, reports of heavy shoulders and neck pain are frequent at Tengu Forest. Tengu Forest is somewhat out of the way and lies deep in the countryside, but if you're up for a visit, make sure to pay your respects and maybe take a shoulder massager along, just in case. Also known as the IDA Forest of Gunma, Gunma Forest is a partially state-owned park that can be found by the Karasu and Ino rivers, and is said to be the location of the birthplace of dynamite in Japan. It has quite the lengthy history, and in 1882, it's said that the Tokyo Artillery Arsenal Iwahana Gunpowder Factory started manufacturing black powder here. In 1905, they then manufactured Japan's first dynamite, and by the Second World War, they started manufacturing gunpowder and such for the Imperial Army as well. It's also said that in 1912, an explosion took place in the factory, then 4,000 employees strong, that killed 6. Their spirits supposedly still linger in the forest to this day. Gunma Forest is home not just to this part of Japan's history, but also numerous museums, such as the Museum of Modern Art, and several parks and walking/cycling trails. It is, in general, not a place you would think is haunted, or even has a reputation as such. But it's mostly thanks to that old gunpowder factory, now long abandoned, that it garnered said reputation. Over time, once people learnt about the real reason behind the creepy abandoned building in the middle of the forest, more and more stories of ghostly sightings started to emerge. Some claim you can hear men groaning in pain in the forest, although, of course, nobody is ever found. A spirit in white is also often sighted, but likes to disappear the moment you turn your eyes away. There are also areas of the park where dog owners have reported their beloved pets refuse to go. The abandoned gunpowder factory also turned into a rumoured location that people visit to end their lives over the years, although no evidence exists to suggest anyone has ever actually done so. It is simply old and creepy, and naturally has a rather checkered history. Interestingly, the forest is also said to be full of the spirits of children. If you're hanging out there at night, you might spot the odd sight of a lone child playing in the park. And, much like the spirit in white, once you approach them to talk and then turn away, even for just a second, they will disappear, like they were never there to begin with. Yet, for many, the forest remains simply that. For those in the know, it's a creepy ghost spot with a dark history hidden amongst the trees. But for others, it's simply a large square of nature in the middle of the city with numerous parks and museums you can enjoy. At least, until you pay it a visit late at night, and things start to get eerie and, potentially, supernatural. Nanasato Satsujin, or Murder Forest, is an intriguing ghost spot. For one, it's not even located in Nanasato. That's further north, but in Minuma Ward. And secondly, there's no proof that the death that gave it its name ever took place. The story goes that a father and son lived in a small shack in the forest. The forest used to be much larger than it is now, and they lived deep inside. A short distance from their home was a shrine, and one day they were arguing there when the son lost his temper and cut his father's head off with a nata, a wide-bladed tool used for cutting and hunting in forests. Police were called in and arrested the boy, or at least attempted to, because depending on the story, the son either killed himself beforehand or went nuts when they tried to take him back to the station, and then died from shock. Either way, he died and never made it there. The problem with this story is that it's just that. Despite the fame Nanasato Satsujin Forest has gained over the years, no one has ever found proof that any death ever took place there. Ghost hunters and researchers have scoured newspapers in local libraries and, to date, have never found a single news item referencing the death that supposedly took place there. Considering that the father supposedly had his head cut off and the son also died shortly thereafter, one would imagine that at least one newspaper in the area would have covered the story. Yet, it doesn't exist, and there is no proof of a house ever existing in the forest either. The shrine is real. A plaque at the entrance states that the shrine is dedicated to Inari Daimyojin, and you can find a tiny fox statue inside the hokora, a small depository for sacred objects. Even though the story states the son killed his father at the shrine, some have suggested that it was actually built after the fact, to soothe his angry spirit. Yet, Inari tends to oversee harvests, fertility, rice and foxes, and is not usually a kami used to appease the dead. Locals claim the shrine has been around for a long time, much longer than rumours of the supposed death, making this theory even less likely. Yet it does exist, and you can find it quite easily from the roadside. What remains now, however, is only a shell of the former shrine it once was, and decades of people visiting the area to do some ghost hunting have almost destroyed it entirely. If nobody was ever killed there, then how did it get such a fearsome name? This nobody knows. It's possible that the story developed after a real body was discovered inside the forest several decades ago. This person was not killed in the forest, however, and police investigations revealed that the body had been dumped there after death. This was in a time long before the internet, and it's possible that somebody heard a body was found inside the forest, told it to a neighbour, who told it to another neighbour, until finally the story as we know it today formed. This would also explain why the forest is called Nanasato Satsujin Forest, despite not being in Nanasato. For someone living outside the area, they may not have realized and attached a nearby, yet incorrect name. The forest today is much smaller than it used to be, with a graveyard now taking up much of what used to be the east of the forest, and a hospital that now takes up the west. This has led some to call it the forest that sits between life and death. There's not much else around other than rice fields and private homes, and the residents of these often complain about people coming to see the forest because of its reputation. They come at all hours of the night, usually filming for YouTube or taking photos for blogs, disturbing residents with loud noises and leaving their trash behind, all over what is likely a fake story and the now trashed remains of an old Inari shrine. Despite this story being debunked for the most part, people still report getting headaches when entering the forest, or even just passing by. This is likely related to the father who had his head lopped off, and people have reported capturing faces and even hands in photos taken at the shrine. If you're lucky, or unlucky enough, the father's ghostly severed head may also appear, and if you're even more lucky, or unlucky, that head may attack. At least that's what people would have you believe. Other than the abandoned body, there's no proof anything ever happened inside the Nanasato Satsujin forest. And while it makes for a good story, it's important to remember that, for many, the area surrounding the forest is their home, not a tourist attraction. They are simply trying to live their lives, and people running around making videos and screaming about ghosts at all hours of the night would do well to remember that. But what did you guys think of this one? Are there any other haunted locations you'd like me to explore? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys again next time.